Hello, everyone. Last week, we introduced to you the concept of social marketing through an introductory lecture, followed by the 10 steps of creating your own social marketing campaign. This week, to support what you're doing or to support your social marketing campaign creation, I want to talk about creating value for social marketing. This is in support of your step one, two, and three, which is targeting the market, creating your objectives, vision, and mission for your company. So, for this particular topic, I looked to Strategic Social Marketing by Garden and Ross about creating value. So, our topics are: what are the importance of creating value as the objective of social marketing? We want to be able to identify domains in which social value is perceived by your citizens. I want you to be able to apply and understand the different dimensions of value and identify how value is created or destroyed. So let's start with the key objectives in social marketing. The question there is, what are the key objectives in social marketing? For us, it is to move beyond the focus of exchange. The old question of what's in it for me and you. So this particular question is transactional in nature. So there is a transaction. You give me something and I give you something back in return. But there is no role for other people to interact, and there is no effort or concern in changing the society. For social marketing, the focus is on creating value. What is the value for you, value for me, and what is the value for the society? As an example, what are the value that we can give for people to give up smoking? So there is the first value, which is functional value. Giving up smoking means you can have your health back. It will provide you health benefits. The economic value of giving up smoking is that you'll have more money to spend on things because rather than buying an expensive cigarette, you have extra money. An emotional value of giving up smoking is a sense of achievement that you have successfully quit smoking. And another effect of this on an emotional level is the emotional level of other people that you have stopped smoking. The social value that we get from giving up smoking is the reduction of the strain on the family members that are concerned about you. It can be also an emotional value for you because you're not being nagged to quit smoking. And another social value is that you get a better social standing for being a non-smoker. The ostracism, the looks, etc. The ecological value of reducing or giving up smoking is that you reduce the burden on the social system that emanates from problems to health that are related to smoking. For example, places to put smoking areas to, people who receive secondhand smoke, the environmental impact that your cigarette butt puts on society. All right, so we have all these values: functional, economic, emotional, social, and ecological value. But let's go back and just remember what value really means. So according to the Oxford English Dictionary of 2013, value is the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance or worth or usefulness of something. Um, it's something important, something valuable, something worthwhile, something useful. For us in marketing, value has two perspectives. from the firms and from the customers. For the firm, uh, value are determined. They determine, they create the value, they deliver the value. For the customers or consumers, we either um, create value or consume the value or destroy the value. But this has changed because marketing's definition have changed recently with the recognition of value by the American Marketing Association, and they said that marketing is the activity or set of institutions, the process of creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. So the transactional perspective of marketing has changed to that of what is the value of this product for the client, for the consumers, not just for the manufacturer or maker of that particular product or service. So we come now to the different domains of value. So there are three: value in exchange, value in use, and value in behavior. Let's start with value in exchange. So this is very simple. Exchange, outcomes oriented. For example, what is the value of purchasing a washing machine? Of course, housewives will have an easier time to wash their clothes, less time and more time for other things. This is a primarily an economic approach on value, which will consider what the consumers will value as an outcome. The cost of the washing machine versus the value that I'll have more time, or the cost of the washing machine versus the value that my clothes will be cleaner, etc. So, value in exchange tend to be more extrinsic with benefits than intrinsic in value. This is more relevant to commercial marketing, where the value that they seek is profit through the delivery or sale of the goods to the consumer. That's it. You exchange value for value. But in social marketing, value in exchange may be useful as a measurement or a rubric for programs that it would involve distribution of stuff. For example, it could be distribution of vitamin health drops to school children, or it could be the distribution of HIV screening kits for by the Department of Health for sexual health intervention. But value in exchange in social marketing, it does not involve the kind of economic exchange that we find in commercial marketing. So very different. It's not as tangible as can be seen in commercial marketing. The second domain of value is value in use. It means that how the clients experience the value. So, value here is considered to be interactive and relativistic preference experience related to the total experience of consuming both goods and services. So, how people experience the product, what is the value when they use it. So, value in process is more process oriented. It emerges from the service marketing paradigm that value is realized when we consume the goods rather than the good itself or the service itself, how we experience consuming that particular good. So, value in use for social marketing may be the value that people perceive towards their experience for, let's say, using the public health office. They may have a bad value in use because they stayed long. They waited too long for to be checked upon. Their experience could be determined by how friendly the people in your city health offices are. What are the emotional benefits that they receive when the doctor finally checked them? How the doctor talked to them? How the doctor engaged and ask questions, etc., etc. And finally, the last domain of value is value in behavior. This is value that is or is not realized through a performance of the behavior. So it may relate on how your citizens may perceive value in actual behavior that is required to facilitate a social good. It recognizes that those involved in behavior change or maintenance are active participants. So, in social marketing, value in behavior may be seen by your citizens as value towards exchange, towards experiences, and towards behavior, for example, of the people that provide social services, for example. How um, how are they able to get a specific service? What kind of behavior do they need to do in order to get it? Should they be friendly? Should they look to be in need for your staff or your people to provide them with the adequate service? So behavior. So looking at it um, in a more holistic way, we tabulated it to show you this. So the domains of value, if you define value through economic approach, experiential approach, or a behavioral approach, the value definition for economic would be the outcome of an evaluation cost against the benefits by Zatham in 1988. It's a value in exchange. It's outcomes oriented, and it's primarily based on the goods. It's primarily extrinsic to the self, and and the domain is usually the marketing domain. Whereas when you look at it from an experiential approach or experience based, you look at at the goods as a value in use. It's more process oriented. It's more service based. It's predominantly intrinsic to yourself, and it is the domain of social marketing. When we look at it, the value from a behavioral approach, behavior is the value is more holistic, more multidimensional by the performance of the behavior. So it's value in behavior, it's behavior oriented, behavior based, it's extrinsic and intrinsic to both yourself and to other people, which is the domain of social marketing as well. Okay. So there are three sources of values: from the organization, from the consumer, and a third party. From the organization's approach, value can be seen on how you provide information to your citizen, how you interact with your citizen, what is the environment upon which the service or product or goods can be received by the citizens. From a consumer perspective, the source of value could be the cognitive inputs. How did they read the information that you provide? Did they go or did they use the behavioral inputs means that how did they behave when they receive or they understood? Did they understand the information that you provided them? Their affective inputs would be how they would behave, how they felt about this service, this good that you provided them. From a third party perspective, value is seen as more how the information was provided, how the people interacted with the service provider or the goods provider. We now move forward to the different dimensions of value. So it has six dimensions for the purpose of social marketing. Value has a functional value, an economic value, an emotional value, a social value, an ecological value, and finally, as proposed by the strategic social marketing book, a societal value. Let's start with the functional value. Functional value is extrinsically motivated. Going back to the Marxist approach, it's a means to an end for the benefit of a person, for the benefit of an individual. It is focused on the performance and the functionality of a product, a service, or the behavior, the use or the utility provided by the consumption of a product of the service. All right? Economic value is what is intrinsically motivated, which is focused on price, focused on the cost benefit analysis, what we get from consuming goods and services, or what we get from performing certain behaviors. This can include consideration of whether, whenever something is reasonably priced, if it offers value for money, if it's worth it, whether it's economical financially. Okay, so moving on to emotional value. Emotional value is again intrinsically motivated. It is the end in itself. We don't look for anything beyond that. Where products, services, behavior are consumed or performed for the emotional experience and for no other purpose or end goal. This value is related to different affective states that can be positive, that could give you confidence or pleasure. It could be negative. It could give you either, it could cause anger or fear, or neutrality, or you're ambivalent, or in Tagalog you're deadma. Utility or use of emotional value is derived from the feelings or affective states that are generated or aroused by the consumption of the product, the service, or by performing a specific behavior. Now, moving on to social value is extrinsically motivated, but it is directed at other people. This value focuses on influencing other people as a means to achieve a desired goal, which is the status of or influence within certain groups. So, utility or use of social value is acquired from a product or a service or a behaviors association with other groups, other parts of the society, as well as its ability to enhance an individual's self-concept. In social marketing, this value dimension is also relevant, as participants may choose to perform a socially desirable behavior in order to fit in socially or to influence others to perform the same type of behavior. The fifth social value is societal value. Societal value is the value on human endeavor for the benefit of society more broadly. It moves beyond the benefit that an individual or a firm can achieve from the processes or behavior or experiences that may be carried out. And the end benefit is a collective elevation of social values. So looking at it on a more easier table format, we see they have different dimensions of value. We have looking at the motivation, focus, and the societal marketing example. So for dimensions of value for functional and economic, both are m- motivated by extrinsic behavior. So for functional, the focus of functional value is its performance, the function, the responsiveness, and then the tangibility of the product or service. As a social marketing example, it could be shown in the consistency or the quality of a breast screening service or a um, CBC extraction service. For economic value, the motivation is still extrinsic or external. The focus is on the financial benefit, the price, the cost benefit ratio. For example, uh, in social marketing, it could be that people who stop smoking, uh, people to stop smoking, you can provide a free uh, service or consultation or group therapy to users or smokers. For the emotional dimension of value, the motivation is internal or intrinsic. We focus on the value that is derived from the experience, such as pleasure, confidence, anger, or fear. And a social marketing example would be, how do we reduce the anxiety from attending a health clinic? So we can either provide comfortable chairs, we can provide Wi Fi, we can provide separate private rooms, etc. Another, for social value of tourism, it's inherently motivated by external factors or extrinsic in nature. The focus is the value that we derive from association with other people, other groups, or what is the impact on our self worth. An example would be, we would attend gym classes or Zumba classes to fit in with other friends who are doing the same, or we're becoming more health buffs or health oriented because our friends are doing the same. From an ecological value, it's the motivation is intrinsic and the focus is the value that we have on the impact on the environment, ecological concerns, and impact on self worth. So, as a social marketing example, we can say that if we are energy efficient or we use our energy efficiently, we make a contribution to reducing climate change, and we are perceived as by our friends as a green practitioner. On the final value dimension, societal value is both motivated extrinsically and intrinsically. The value that we focus on is the society as a whole, and as an example is, if smokers stop smoking, we reduce the cost or the burden on the National Health Service to cure or to assist people who have illnesses that are related to smoking. So that is about the dimensions of value. Now, moving on, we have passive and active values. As you know, when you create a social marketing campaign, there's always this possibility that your citizens or your target market can be either passive or active participants in the campaign. So, a passive value is that consumers will react in response to a consumption of object, service, or experience, or a performance of behavior, but their involvement is low. Or it could be that the people, the persons, the citizens do not participate at all in the value creation. While in active value, it implies a higher involvement, a higher collaboration between the consumer and the producer of either the good or the service for the behavioral change effort. So this is also known as participative value. This involves citizens participating more actively in the consumption or behavioral experience. Their behavioral value or the experiential value perception are based on either their direct use of goods or services or by performing the appropriate behavior, because they deliberately are looking for this service, this exchange, or this kind of interaction with the provider of the service or their local government in this sense. So we now move into how your citizens can receive this value or be a part of the creation of value. So, value co creation is when consumers actively participate in the value creation process. They not only co create the value with you, but they also co construct the experience upon which they use it to suit their context or to suit their situation. In social marketing, this requires recognition of the role that other people play or other parts of society play in value creation in the social context. And remember that value may not be co created. Your citizens, your the people that you make the social marketing campaign to may not always wish to actively co create value for what you are giving them. So when you talk about value co creation, the organization and stakeholders, if they do not involve the participants in the social change program, and if they do not ensure that value is delivered, then the value that you are providing your citizens may be destroyed or co-destroyed by the exact same citizens that you're creating it for. This can happen when your resources, when your services or experiences are misused by the powers that hold it or by the employees that will provide it, or if it's misappropriated and then the citizens disengage or do the opposite of what you are trying to do, what your program or your campaign is intending to do. So Hastings and Domegan cited an example of an exact opposite of what the participants do. For example, in treating young people with type 1 diabetes. So they are asked to go on an annual health check, but they do not go to their annual health check even if it is free, because the value that they see, they don't see any value in going through the checkup, because they say that they are barriers to getting this service. Like, the waiting room smells like an operation theater, smells really bad. There's no free Wi-Fi, they have nothing to do. There's no privacy with people with distressing symptoms. So they are, for example, if people come in with epileptic seizure, they see that, they get disturbed, etc. So that's how you determine if that's how value is destroyed by your by the recipients of the value. So moving on, so just a run through of the process of value co-creation in the social marketing context. The premise is that value is co-created by the citizens and the organization and other actors. The implication is that the citizen, the organization, or the actor interacts is the location of the value co-creation. Where they interact is where the value co-creation happens. So the manifestation of that is that the we focus on the quality of citizen organization stakeholder interaction. How can we enhance that interaction, that coordination, the communication? So from the premise that value is co-created by citizens and organizational actors, we proceed to co-creation experiences are the basis of the value. So with that, the implications is that the variety of co-creation experiences go through heterogeneous interactions, different types of interactions. None are the same as the other. So when that happens, we it manifests on we must focus on innovating the experience to check the environment, the context upon which people get the value, etc. From the premise that the individual citizen is central to the co-creation experiences, but no other involved actors at stake, the implication is that there should be a shared ownership of the co-creation experience, and we should focus on the experience network. So all of these are interlinked to one another, but the value that we want to do, the activity or behavior that we want our citizens to get, is to become active participants in the creation of value. So moving on to value co-discovery, social marketing scholars have always said that programs that are designed and delivered by participants are more likely to succeed than those that are designed and delivered solely by external agents or passively received by citizens. So if the participants or the recipients of your social marketing campaign are the ones that create, design, and deliver these campaigns, it will be much more successful than just by providing it to them. Value code discovery suggests that citizens should be engaged and empowered to decide what their own priorities are and what social change or social good they wish to see happen. So, if you do this, you would be looking at and asking each and every citizen, or it could be a ballot, it could be an election, it could be a house to house campaign, on what is important to them. What do they want to see society, or what do they want to see change in their society, in their day to day living? What do they want the government to change in their everyday lives? This is the same premise as community development paradigm, wherein the members are encouraged to collectively identify the issues that they want to change and to generate the solutions from within themselves to solve these common problems. So for value co-designing or co-designing value, we must involve the active participation of leadership from citizens and participations and leadership from citizens in terms of the product design, the service design, the design of the activities, the experiences that may be offered by the marketing campaign or the marketing program, social marketing program. They can help ensure that the programs are culturally and socially appropriate and has a potential to reduce the cost and facilitate the process of engagement and empowerment in communities. So this can happen, for example, if you ask school children to make up posters on how school kids can help reduce solid waste in their schools or in their homes, or how housewives can create text campaign to their co-housewives on how to manage their solid waste and household solid waste. So value co-delivery, or creating value through delivery, is involving the active participation in for from the citizens in actually delivering the social marketing programs that you have. So your intended beneficiary became the frontline staff in delivering these programs. They are actively involved in the rolling out, in the monitoring, in evaluation of the activities. They could be a part of the program steering committee as an advisory committee, or they can be a part of the peer-to-peer networking. They could be community champions, or you can get the opinion leaders or option leaders and make them as the project employees, or you can involve citizens in the policy development, in the technical and technological delivery, the infrastructure design, or the media activities. So therefore, value co-creation, co discovery, co design, co delivery, and even co interpretation can offer an inclusive and representative way to engage your citizens in your social marketing programs and campaigns. So, that being said, I hope it helps you in creating the target marketing, the benefits, or the behavior that you want to change by looking at it through a different perspective, in taking into account what the values are in this specific social marketing campaign programs. So I'm going to give you some thoughts to ponder about this presentation. Number one, which dimensional value do you think is most important, and why is it relevant for social marketing? Number two, can you think of an experience that you've had in using a local government service, social service, and what did you feel? Did you feel, and was there a time that value was destroyed? And why was this the case? And what could have been done to avoid it? And finally, my question is, how easy are the citizens are to engage in value co-creation through co-discovery, co-design, or co-delivery? So all of this is sourced from Gordon and French book, The Strategic Social Marketing, published by Sage Publication from London. Thank you very much for listening, and I will upload the presentation shortly. Good day.